Next on Kurtz News, Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio is forcefully denying allegations of sexual abuse against him that are almost a half-century old. We'll have the whole story.
Racism is opposed to the gospel of Jesus Christ.
The U.S. bishops wrap up their history-making meeting in Baltimore. We have team coverage. The battle over impeachment is fought live on national television. Both sides are clashing over accusations against President Trump. Pope Francis strongly condemns anti-Semitism, telling thousands at the Vatican today the persecution of Jewish people must stop. Plus, Venice is on its knees tonight as much of the Italian city is submerged and a famous basilica is threatened. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Tamara Lane. Bishop DiMarzio is strongly denying accusations of sexual abuse against him that go back almost 50 years. He's vowing to fight the charges and is totally confident he'll be cleared. Current News' Michelle Powers has the story.
The Bishop of Brooklyn is strongly refuting allegations tonight that he molested an altar boy almost half a century ago. I am just learning of this allegation. In my nearly 50-year ministry as a priest, I have never engaged in unlawful or inappropriate behavior, and I categorically deny this allegation. I am confident I will be fully vindicated. DiMarzio issued that statement after the Associated Press broke the story that a suit may be filed next month by the law offices of Mitchell Garabedian, the attorney best known for representing sexual abuse victims in Boston during the clerical abuse crisis in 2002. The lawsuit alleges DiMarzio and a second priest, now dead, repeatedly abused Mark Matzek as a child in St. Nicholas Church in New Jersey in the 1970s. In response, the Archdiocese of Newark is saying they have reported these allegations to law enforcement. Garabedian is demanding $20 million in compensation. These accusations come on the heels of DiMarzio completing his Vatican-appointed examination into the Bishop of Buffalo for allegations that Richard Malone failed to report abusive priests. The conclusions of this fact-finding mission have yet to be released. Before this moment, Bishop DiMarzio has been recognized as a national leader in taking steps to protect children. In his own diocese, he established the Office of Victim Assistance, which helps individuals come forward with their own allegations of abuse. He also established a toll-free and confidential sexual abuse reporting line. In addition, every employee for the diocese, including students, is required to undergo training to prevent and identify abuse. Bishop DiMarzio has met with many survivors, and the Diocese of Brooklyn holds a yearly Mass of hope and healing. This past year, Bishop DiMarzio held a series of regional meetings throughout his diocese to allow for candid questions.
I could only account for the last 15 years, where immediately as I came, I put a reporting line in.
And last February, DiMarzio authorized the release of the names of 108 priests credibly accused of child abuse over the Diocese of Brooklyn's 166-year history. Bishop DiMarzio is vowing to vigorously defend himself against what he calls false allegations. In Brooklyn, Michelle Powers, Current News.
Bishop DiMarzio is asking all Catholics in the Brooklyn Diocese to pray for him in the coming days as he works to defend himself from this allegation. He's also promising to pray for the diocese. Bishop DiMarzio's letter to the faithful is online at thetablet.org. Another top story tonight, America's bishops have finished their national meeting in Baltimore. Fighting racism, establishing bishops' accountability, and more topped the agenda for the final days of the Fall Assembly. Emily Druby starts off our team coverage.
Thank you very, very much. God bless you.
A thunderous applause and a standing ovation for Cardinal Daniel DiNardo at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops General Assembly. Today marked his last session as president. Archbishop Jose Gomez, who is taking over the role, offered thanks to his predecessor.
Thank you for leading us with both knowledge and wisdom. On behalf of all of us, let me say thank you. And may God bless you for your excellent service to this body and to the church.
Plenty on the agenda for day 3 of the national meetings. The bishops heard about the status of a third-party reporting system that deals with allegations of abuse and misconduct by bishops.
But the idea is we want to make sure that this system is reserved for this very specific, very high priority purpose.
Also discussing efforts to combat racism across the country using tools like roundtables and a children's book. The Committee Against Racism's chairman delivering a powerful message.
Racism is opposed to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that the Catholic Church in the United States is committed to standing against the evil and sin of racism with all its strength.
Several nonprofits also presenting to the bishop today, including Catholic Relief Services.
What's wrong with the world? There's plenty. What's right with the world? Groups like CRS.
U.S. Catholic Charities outlined a new way to help the chronically homeless through outreach, and the leader of Catholic Legal Immigration Network discussed her experience at the southern border.
I saw a world that is hard to understand and accept, given our country's resources and our values.
A busy time for Cardinal Daniel DiNardo's final day as president. Archbishop Jose Gomez now takes over. Emily Druby, Kurtz News.
The bishops are working on a new framework for marriage and family life. Philadelphia's Archbishop Charles Chaput is in charge of the project. He's saying the idea is to create guidelines that would be applied within parishes. They'll be voted on by the U.S. bishops next year. There's going to be 4 pillars that build upon the Pope's exhortation, the joy of love. Each one addresses situations that face couples and families today. The first is prayer and relationship with Jesus, plus formation of families, how the church can accompany them and advocate for them. The national correspondent for the Tablet and Kurtz, Christopher White, has been reporting on the bishops throughout their national meeting. He joins us from Notre Dame University, where he's preparing for a town hall meeting with students and the Pope's top sex abuse investigator, Archbishop Charles Scicluna. Christopher, thank you so much for being with us.
Good to be back with you, Tamara.
The bishops have completed the public portion of their General Assembly, but they also met behind closed doors in executive sessions. Do you know what they spoke about?
Yeah, so this morning they broke up into regions, which is a common practice for the bishops to talk about any sort of regional concerns. Now, this morning's meetings really focused on the implementation of what will be the new third-party system for reporting cases of abuse when bishops are involved. This is a program that will take effect next spring with the U.S. bishops, and I think the regional meetings were a chance to sort of work out any particular kinks that may be coming up as they prepare to launch this.
So a lot happening. What were the major highlights and priorities to come out of this week's meeting?
Well, among 2 of the major issues that were elevated were that of migration and gun control. As we've all seen over the past year, the clergy abuse scandals have been a constant reoccurring theme. The bishops tried to walk a tightrope of both addressing that, but also pivoting to other issues of national concern. So again, among them, migration and gun control, which continues both issues to plague the nation.
When will they meet again as a national group, and what will be on their agenda?
They will meet this coming June in Detroit, so this is their summer meeting, and this meeting will be a chance where Archbishop Jose Gomez, the new president of the conference, will get to sort of lay out his agenda. Now, Archbishop Gomez, as we discussed yesterday, is the first Latino bishop to ever hold the post. He's been a longtime champion of migrants. Immigration has been a constant priority of his in his home diocese of Los Angeles, which is the most diverse in the nation. And I believe this will be a chance for him to put that front and center as his priority for all of the bishops as they continue their work, particularly ahead of a national presidential election.
So there's a lot to follow between now and then.
Absolutely. A lot of just back to business now.
Christopher White, the national correspondent for the Tablet and Kurtz, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tamara.
Turning to Washington and the top story there. The battle over impeachment is a national television show. For the first time, witnesses are delivering public testimony as part of the ongoing Democratic investigation into President Trump. Mary Maloney reports the very latest from the historic hearing.
Dramatic testimony about alleged corruption moved the impeachment inquiry into President Trump beyond the shadows of closed-door hearings and into the public eye.
I discovered a weird combination of encouraging, confusing, and ultimately alarming circumstances.
Bill Taylor, the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, told Congress President Trump leveraged key aid and a White House visit for Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden and his son.
I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign.
After President Trump and the president of Ukraine spoke in July, Taylor said President Trump had a conversation with the U.S. ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland. Taylor testified one of his aides asked Sondland what the president thought of Ukraine.
Ambassador Sondland responded that President Trump cares more about the investigations of Biden.
Democrats want to prove President Trump abused the power of his office.
The questions presented by this impeachment inquiry are whether President Trump sought to exploit that ally's vulnerability and invite Ukraine's interference in our elections.
Republicans paint the allegations as hearsay, while the president blames Democrats for playing politics. Public hearings in the impeachment inquiry will continue into next week. Democrats want to wrap up proceedings before the 2020 election, and perhaps as soon as the end of the year. In Washington, Mary Maloney, Currents News.
Even though the impeachment hearing was televised, President Trump said he wasn't watching.
I did not watch it. I'm too busy to watch it. It's a witch hunt. It's a hoax. I'm too busy to watch it. So I'm sure I'll get a report. There's nothing. I have not been briefed, no.
While the hearing was going on, the president met with Turkey's President Recep Erdogan at the White House. Trump said the ceasefire at Turkey's border with Syria is holding, and the Kurds told him they're satisfied with the conditions there. In other news around the world, Cardinal George Pell is being allowed to argue against his conviction for child sex abuse. Australia's High Court has decided to give Pell a final chance to make the case that his appeal should be heard. The move means the full 7-member court will rule on whether the appeal should go forward. Cardinal Pell is serving a 6-year prison term. Rioters in Chile torched one of Santiago's top hotels today. At the same time, churches in the Catholic country are being invaded and looted. The protesters have been fueling unrest in the country for almost a month. They want Chile's President Sebastián Piñera to resign. The worst flooding in more than 50 years is leaving much of Venice underwater tonight. The mayor is saying the Italian city is on its knees. Water 6 feet deep covers half of the city. St. Mark's Basilica is reported to have suffered grave damage in the flooding. There's a lot more news headed your way. Pope Francis is tackling anti-Semitism head on. He had a lot to say at the Vatican this morning. Good news about a top archbishop and the fight for his life. A Navy SEAL who was told he was too old for the New York Fire Department is getting a second chance. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. The FBI is reporting tonight that hate crime violence in the United States is at a 16-year high. The feds are finding a significant upswing in attacks against Latinos that's outpacing a drop in assaults targeting Muslims and Arab Americans. Overall, there's been more than 7,000 incidents nationwide that are classified as hate crimes. In the 3 largest cities, New York, LA, and Chicago, a surge in attacks targeting Jewish people are driving the total up to decade highs. Taking on anti-Semitism directly, Pope Francis condemned the hate as neither human nor Christian. The Holy Father telling thousands in St. Peter's Square that the persecution of Jewish people must end. Melissa Butts reports from the Vatican.
Despite a gray and rainy day, the Pope went out and toured in St. Peter's Square to greet the pilgrims. In his address, the Pope recalled the important role of 2 lay people in St. Paul's evangelization. They were Aquila and Priscilla, who were exiled from Rome with the rest of the Jews by Emperor Claudius. The Pope said, unfortunately, the exile of the Jews is not a thing of the past.
Tutti eravamo convinti che questo era finito, ma oggi incomincia a rinascere qua, là, l'abitudine di perseguitare gli ebrei, fratelli e sorelle questo non è né umano né cristiano. Gli ebrei sono fratelli nostri e non vanno perseguitati. Capito?
Then Pope Francis recalled that Aquila and Priscilla risked a lot by allowing Christians to meet in their house.
Quante famiglie in tempo di persecuzione rischiano la testa per mantenere nascosti i perseguitati. Questo è il primo esempio.
Finally, the Pope called for peace in Burkina Faso, recently hit by brutal terrorist attacks that cost the lives of hundreds of people.
Affido al Signore tutte le vittime, feriti, numerosi sfollati e quanti soffrono per questi drammi.
Burkina Faso is suffering under the weight of Islamic fundamentalism. That's why Pope Francis asked authorities to act according to the spirit of human fraternity, reflected in the document from Abu Dhabi. The Pope and the Imam of Al-Azhar, one of the main Sunni leaders of the Muslim world, signed that document. The two will meet again this Friday at the Vatican. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
There's good news tonight about U.S. Archbishop Joseph Kurtz. He's doing well after successful surgery to fight bladder cancer. The Archbishop was on the operating table for about 7 hours. Today, he is up and walking and hoping for a full recovery. Archbishop Kurtz is the leader of the Archdiocese of Louisville, Kentucky, and had served as the president of the U.S. Bishops' Conference. He says he'll know by Thanksgiving what other treatments he may need. Our prayers go out to Archbishop Kurtz. Here in New York, a Navy SEAL is getting a second chance at living his dream. 38-year-old Sean Donovan was too old when he applied to join the FDNY in April. He was about 6 months over the age limit, but thanks to a bill signed by Governor Andrew Cuomo, veterans are allowed to trim up to 7 years of military service from their age. Because of the new law, Donovan is going to be reapplying to serve as a member of New York's Bravest. Still to come on Currents News, Pope Francis has a gift direct from New York. The story is an exclusive in the tablet. And Editor-in-Chief Jorge Dominguez is up next. The students call her Granny, and they're helping her celebrate a great milestone. A new effort is helping hundreds of Catholic school kids in the Bahamas whose lives were upended by Hurricane Dorian. They're getting support from the Archdiocese of Nassau through a program that's called Each One, Reach One. Bishop DiMarzio rallied the parishes of the Brooklyn Diocese to donate to the Nassau Church. Under Each One, Reach One, more than 200 students who've enrolled in Catholic schools in Nassau can get financial help. They had been attending classes on Abaco and Grand Bahamas Islands before the storm. At least 70 people died when Dorian hit the Bahamas more than 2 months ago. This week is a can't-miss issue of the tablet. Among the exclusives inside, an artist who creates beautiful masterpieces turns 90. A call to pray for those who usually pray for us, and a special gift to the Holy Father from Faithful in New York. The tablet's editor-in-chief, Jorge Dominguez, is here to tell us all about this wonderful edition. Jorge, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tamara.
Tell us about the special artist that you're covering in this week's tablet.
Oh, it's a wonderful story. John McCallin, he worked at the tablet for 40 years, most of them as a part-timer. And in 1968, they asked him to do an illustration for the cover of the tablet. And he did, in the Christmas illustration, the edition. So he did a beautiful thing. He did an illustration that is very beautiful, but at the same time, it was formed with the names of the people who work in the diocese. So that everybody loved it, and they loved it so much that he did it for 40 years. And every year it was like a special treat to see if your name was there. Well, he recently turned 90, and he had a mass in his parish to honor him because he had been an usher for decades there. So Ed Wilkinson was there. He wrote a beautiful article, and we got in the archive, and we got those beautiful pieces. You have to see them.
How inspiring.
Yes.
Well, we love our religious sisters in the Brooklyn Diocese, and many are cloistered orders who always pray for us, but soon we'll be given the opportunity to pray for them. So tell me about that.
Well, yes, in the 80s, the Pope John Paul II had a wonderful idea. They say the cloistered nuns, they pray for us every single day of the year. So why we don't pray with them and for them one day per year, and that day is November 21st. In this diocese, we're very lucky because we have 5 different convents when we have cloistered or contemplative nuns praying for us the whole year, and that day we have the opportunity to go there and to pray for them or with them, or we can do it from home. But you have to read all the the details in the article.
And you have a special story about New Yorkers traveling to the Vatican with a gift for the Holy Father.
This is a wonderful story too. There is an organization here in our region, Pave the Way, and this is an organization of Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people, and they are trying to create bridges among religions. So they did a special gift for the Pope. It is a wonderful version of a Jewish sacred book done by local artists, and they presented to the Pope recently.
Incredible. Jorge Dominguez, editor-in-chief of The Tablet, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tamara.
The Tablet needs your support to ensure that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. You can do so by purchasing the paper at your parish or subscribing to The Tablet so that it comes right to your mailbox. You'll save up to 55% by having it delivered to your home versus paying for it at church. Go to the website thetablet.org/home55 or call 877-883-8356. And please check out one of the latest features in the Tablet, the Our Diocesan Family page. That's where you can send in photos of your family receiving certain sacraments, such as baptism, First Communion, confirmation, and marriage. For more information and to submit your pictures, go to thetablet.org/ourdiocesanfamily. Finally tonight, the kids call her Granny and they love her. Martha Strickland works in the cafeteria at a school near Atlanta. And when it was time to celebrate a very important milestone, she couldn't think of a better place to be. Tony Thomas has her story.
Hi there.
Just like she has for the past 27 years,
Get your cookies, son.
Martha Strickland worked this big day in the Shiloh Elementary cafeteria.
Look what I got for you.
But on her 95th birthday, she was the one handing the students a present.
Hey, darling, here's a birthday cookie.
And they loved her right back.
Is this how the movie stars feel?
That's just insane to me, how long she's been living.
This is actually Granny's second career. After working in data processing for the city of Atlanta for 37 years, she came to Shiloh Elementary in 1991.
How could you be any happier? And why would you leave a place that you're so loved?
Granny is wild. Every day is a new day with Granny here.
This is their first year. I'm not going to sit home in no rocking chair and say, oh, I'm old. It's not me.
It's become a tradition for Granny to hand out cookies on her birthday. She's done it for so long, some of the kids back in the day are now parents themselves.
Granny, you're a big deal.
Well, it's fantastic. I love them and they love me. Hi there.
Tony Thomas filing that story from Gwinnett County, Georgia. Granny says she doesn't see herself ending her second career anytime soon. Her driver's license is valid until she's 102, so Granny can continue driving to school. I love this Granny.
She can go longer than that.
Probably. That is Currents News. I'm Tamara Lane. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.